Thank you, Kes, for this very engaging lecture. You have provided us with much food for discussion, and I'm sure the Q&A session will give us the opportunity to deepen some relevant aspects. Without further ado, I'd like to invite Donato to start the discussion.
Thank you very much, Gus. It's a real pleasure and honor to host you at Pisa University. I believe one of the key successes of Natch is its challenge to the long-dominant paradigm of neoclassical economics, the Bayesian rationality approach, which posits that we are all economic actors who make rational decisions and to maximize our outcomes. Fortunately, Taylor and yourself have shown that we are subject to cognitive biases and heuristics that affect our judgment, a finding elaborated in the seminal work Thinking Fast and Slow by Kahneman and Tversky. Natch offers an effective solution for enhancing decision-making, where regulators act as architects of choice that promote welfare through default rules and offering the best decision-making pathway while still preserving freedom of choice through opt-out rules. Now, we are observing the remarkable success of nudge in financial markets, where regulators are using the finding of your model to help consumers make better choice with their money. But I wonder if nudge, when applied by regulators in those markets, without appropriate caveats such as, for example, transparency, publicity, and accountability, may trigger undesirable outcomes in decision-making environment. And this, I particularly stress this concern in my review of your book, Nudge, the final edition, pointing out that consumers tend to follow suggested behaviors, even if they are suboptimal, either because of a lack of information or due to an overload of information, and is that impair sound decision-making. Now, Gus, do you think such adverse effect could undermine the opt-in-out rules and maybe freedom of choice as well? And if so, what do you suggest regulators do mitigate this risk? Thank you very much in advance, Gus.
Great, I thank you for that. So, as an occasional regulator myself, I think there are a few things to keep in mind. First, if you have an educative nudge, it should be based on sound information, and it should be tested to make sure that people will understand it and respond reasonably to it. So let's suppose that you're trying to protect people against credit card arrangements by which they end up paying a lot of money to the credit card company, to give them clarity about what their relationship to the company is, what the interest rate is, what the late fees are, what the overuse fees are. That's really very, very important. And if the information is accurate, and if people understand it, then it's likely to have significant benefits and not very high costs. So if you learn that you're taking out a loan, and if you stop paying for a few months, you're going to have to pay a lot, that's beneficial. If you don't know the terms, that's terrible. So people should be nudged to know what the terms of their agreement are. If the regulator, let's suppose, is concerned that people are automatically enrolled in things that are bad, like they're automatically enrolled in a program by which they're paying a lot of money every month for nothing. Maybe it's an insurance program that's useless, or maybe it's a fee that they don't really know about. To regulate that by forbidding automatic enrollment is a really good idea if we know that the program is a harmful program. And our Federal Reserve Board has done something exactly like that to ensure that people aren't automatically enrolled in something that is harmful for them. Now, these are nudges that work with architecture or education. If we are, as you say, aware that people aren't fully rational, we might have some mandates and bans to consider. So to forbid companies from imposing certain terms might be a good idea, though we want to make sure there aren't, as you say, unintended side effects. Maybe I'll give you another little note, which is that in my regulatory capacity in my second stint in the government, I was in charge of regulation, including to some extent financial regulation, with an eye toward cost-benefit analysis. And that was something President Obama was very firmly committed to. And the idea is to make sure that the benefits of what's done justify the costs. And that's not just a conclusion. Of course they do. You wouldn't do that. You'd have to have data that proves it's true. So if we know that a regulation that's a nudge costs very little, and if we know that even if it succeeds only a little bit, it has benefits, then it's probably a good idea. So this is a plea for testing to the extent that you can. And if you have something where you know the costs of the intervention are low, and even if it's less successful than you could possibly imagine, the benefits still justify the costs, then do it. In the financial domain that I'm aware of, the effects of nudges and behavioral informed interventions are extremely impressive. There's a law called the CARD Act, passed in 2010, I think, maybe 2009, which is delivering to consumers over $9 billion in annual benefits. $9 billion, approximately the same in euros. And the people who are benefiting are people who really need the benefit because they don't have good credit ratings. So the benefits are concentrated in vulnerable people.